There's an old Bedouin proverb, me and my brothers against my cousins. Me, my brother, and my cousins against any stranger. Essentially, this is the alliance of those sharing genetic heritage based on propagating one's genes forward. It's familial, it's tribalistic. It observably manifests itself over and over throughout history, from villages with a shared genetic heritage, uniting them, to a broader context of, say, World War II Aryan racial supremacy. Throughout history, shared genetic heritage has proven to be a very durable reason for cooperation. As the world began to develop economically, alliances began to be formed around trade and economics. The bonds created helping bridge the divide in trust that previously only biology could. The ability to facilitate trade based on these new bonds of trust greatly has enhanced the human experiences and raised the standard of living for human beings around the world. For the last several hundred years, this form of cooperation and trust building has grown dramatically, which is why I am here communicating with you via radio waves, beaming up to a satellite and back down to you, perhaps. It's amazing. As the bonds have strengthened, trust has grown, and with it, racism has radically receded, like a wave rolling back out to sea. And yet, the radical left is intentionally trying to destroy these bonds and bridges, dividing us once again along racial lines, on racial components, taking us down the road to a potentially violent civil war. They'll tell you with great zeal that America is still a highly racist place. I disagree, of course, but let's say you think that there's some merit to their accusation. Are we, as a nation, not less racist than we were in the year 1960? Can we all agree on that? The existence of the KKK, once a large and potent and virulent organization, has been relegated to the fringe. Of course, the intersectionalists will tell you no and point to a series of racist hate crimes as evidence on their behalf. One group, of course, is guilty of racism based merely on the color of the skin. A racist statement in themselves, but according to the book, White Fragility, you're offered a catch-22. Either admit your inner racism, or if you dare to deny it, it's only because you have white fragility. If you have the disease of whiteness, your fate is absolutely unavoidable. This immutable characteristic that one cannot hide marks you. You are by definition a racist no matter what actions you've taken throughout your life. The only way out is to get down on your knees and apologize and beg forgiveness for something that you've never done, that you've never acted upon, and pledge allegiance to the cult as you try to go out and make more and more people's lives miserable, to demonstrate your allegiance, to atone for your original sin of your skin color. Now that they have sufficient numbers, both in their online mobs as well as their physical world mobs, and people in places of power who will not prosecute their crimes, but will prosecute people who try to defend themselves, they are also attempting to rewrite history, to change the definitions of words and destroy any semblance of cohesion that exists here in the United States and in the Western world at large, in hopes that from the ashes will rise their utopian phoenix, which history predicts will just be absolute hell. Now they are going off and trying to frame everything as a battle against racism, which they are promoting using the moniker Black Lives Matter, using that as a Trojan horse to slip in pernicious legislation and practices. Complete double standards exhibited in free speech permissions, for example, that are taking place right now in New York City under Bill de Blasio. The goal, of course, is to transfer away wealth and power from a group that they deem to be the oppressors, aka white people. Let's just call that the original sin of being born white. Two groups that they believe to be oppressed. Of course, this will be done via some schizophrenic accounting scheme that will undoubtedly result in great infighting amongst those groups as to how they divide up the spoils of pillage, and their coalition will fray. Meanwhile, as they continue to attack whiteness, deeming them evil bigots by dint of skin color, by the fact that they were unlucky enough to be born with pale skin, who are undeserving of any type of police protection, who must prostrate themselves in the face of any attack to avoid prosecution. And as they continue to try to plunder their hard-earned wealth from them and transfer it to people based solely on the color of their skin, they are not only destroying the bonds and understanding that Martin Luther King dreamed of, struggled for, and sadly ultimately died for, by their demonization and backing a group to the wall with immutable characteristics and a biological basis for cooperation.
So don't say it isn't a big deal. Oh shit, here we go! It's on! Race war! Race war! Race war! Race war's on, everybody! It's going down! It's going down!
I'm honestly not sure how to stop it. I'd say everybody should just calm down, but frankly, we might be past that point. Some people have had their brains 100% eaten away by the cancer of wokeness. As an example, my good friend canceled me, apparently permanently, for having the audacity to cite FBI crime statistics that were not flattering to one given race. If you can guess what race that is, does that make you a racist? One thing I can tell you with absolute certainty, unequal application of the law will just catalyze this reaction much more quickly. I'm talking about, for example, in St. Louis, where Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner is investigating and issued a warrant to go after the McCloskeys, who were the couple that stood on their lawn with their guns to try to protect it from people that had already broken down the gate to private property and were trespassing. Meanwhile, she's letting people that were arrested during the St. Louis riots go free. And these were not, in all likelihood, people that were just walking around the streets. The aforementioned New York City debacle, where Bill de Blasio is allowing BLM protesters First Amendment protections while denying it for anybody else. Allowing people to tear down publicly owned statues, carte blanche, but charging a couple in California for painting over a Black Lives Matter slogan painted on the street. This is unequal application of the law, guaranteed, and it can be used as a defense. And the beneficiary of this? China and other U.S. adversaries. The loser? Anybody who exists in the free world. So, unite, speak calmly and softly against these injustices, but make your voice heard, and vote for some sanity this November. Vote red across the board. And at least, even if you're not willing to vote for Donald Trump, at least acknowledge the craziness and the strategy that the left is employing is going to be counterproductive to not only them, but to the United States as a whole. And it will plummet us, in all likelihood, into chaos. Please make this known to your friends and spread this message if you think I'm at all right. If you think I'm wrong, go ahead and leave a comment and subscribe to the channel, please. And peace and blessings, and have a fabulous day. I hope that I've shined some light on persistent issues that I see ongoing. Peace out.